The 23-year-old queen commanded the humans' capture, but he walked into her throne room willingly. Towers of crystal and steel reached into the clouds, their surfaces reflecting the light in dazzling patterns that shifted with every breeze. From above, the city looked like a living organism, pulsing with energy as its people moved through the streets and skyways below. At the heart of the city, the palace stood on a raised plateau, dominating the skyline. Its towers spiraled like the curves of a shell, and its walls shimmered with a reflective coating that changed color with the light. Queen Alara, at only 23, ruled from this palace. Though young, she carried herself with an authority that demanded respect. Every citizen of Lithuria, from the humblest street vendor to the highest-ranking council member, recognized her intelligence and decisiveness. But despite her wisdom, there were whispers among the people that the queen had yet to face a challenge she could not control. Today, however, a challenge unlike any before was approaching. Orion, a human from a distant star system, had made his way to Lithuria. Rumors about him had already reached the queen. He was clever, unorthodox, and somehow able to think in ways Lithurians could not. His arrival was not just unexpected, it was dangerous. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for their resourcefulness, but they were also unpredictable. Some Lithurians believed Orion should be captured immediately, removed from the palace before he could influence anyone. Others whispered that perhaps he could be useful, but Alara knew she had to decide for herself. The morning was calm, almost serene, as the queen stood on her balcony overlooking the city. Her long silver hair caught the sunlight, gleaming like threads of metal. Her violet eyes, sharp and assessing, scanned the horizon. The air was filled with a hum of energy from the city below, but her mind was elsewhere. She had spent countless hours preparing for the possibility of Orion's arrival. Every precaution had been taken. Guards had been stationed discreetly throughout the palace. Sensors and scanners were active. Yet the thought of meeting him face to face made her pulse quicken, not from fear, but from curiosity. A messenger arrived, gliding swiftly across the balcony on a hovering platform. He was small and nimble, his uniform reflecting the colors of the Lithurian Council. Bowing low, he spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "Your Majesty, he has arrived at the palace gates. No sign of aggression. He requests an audience." Alara's brow arched slightly. "No aggression?" she repeated almost to herself. "That in itself is unusual for a human." The messenger nodded and retreated, leaving the queen to consider her next move. She turned to her advisors, who stood silently behind her. "Prepare the throne room," she instructed. "I will receive him myself. Let all protocols be observed, but no one is to interfere unless I command it. I want to see what this human is capable of without distractions." Her advisors exchanged glances, some hesitant, some concerned. One of them, a tall Lithurian named Kale, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, humans are unpredictable. They have unusual methods. Are you certain it is wise to receive him alone?" Alara's eyes met his. There was a calm, unshakable certainty in her gaze. "I am certain, Kale. If we wish to understand him, we must face him directly. Observation through others will never reveal the truth." With that, she left the balcony and made her way through the palace corridors. The halls were vast and gleaming, lined with tall pillars that seemed to hum with energy. The air was cool and scented faintly with a mixture of metal and flowers, a carefully designed atmosphere to calm the senses and sharpen focus. Guards and attendants fell into step around her, silent and disciplined. As she approached the throne room, her mind wandered briefly. Humans were an enigma to Lithurians. They were not stronger or faster than her people, yet their adaptability and creativity were unmatched. Stories told of human explorers solving problems that machines and Lithurian minds could not. And now, this one human, Orion, had come to her palace willingly, claiming he meant no harm. That alone was remarkable. The throne room doors were enormous, made of a translucent material that glowed softly with energy. They opened silently as Alara approached. Inside, the room was grand beyond description. A high domed ceiling arched over the space, decorated with holographic images of Lithuria's history, shifting and changing like living memories. The floor was polished to a mirror-like shine, reflecting the images above. Rows of seats lined the sides of the room, though today they were empty. At the center, her throne rose on a small platform, its design intricate and regal. Alara seated herself, the weight of authority settling comfortably on her shoulders. She gestured to a guard at the entrance, signaling him to admit the visitor. The doors slid open, and Orion stepped inside. He walked slowly, deliberately, his posture calm but confident. His human features stood out sharply against the Lithurian elegance, hair dark and tousled, eyes sharp and curious, attire simple but clean. There was no sign of weapons, no attempt to hide his identity. Yet the energy he carried was palpable, a quiet assurance that he belonged in this place, even though he had come from light years away. Alara studied him carefully. Every instinct told her this human was unlike any she had encountered before. His gaze met hers without hesitation, and there was a subtle smile on his lips, not arrogant but aware. "You are bold," she said finally, her voice echoing slightly in the grand chamber. Few would dare enter Lithuria's palace uninvited, and fewer still would do so willingly after hearing of my orders. Orion inclined his head respectfully. "I mean no offense, Your Majesty. I come with knowledge, not conflict. I believe we can learn from one another." Alara raised an eyebrow. "Learn from each other. You are human and I am Lithurian. Our methods are thinking your kind has never understood ours. And yet you claim you can offer insight?" Orion's smile widened faintly. "Not claim, Your Majesty. I hope to prove it. There is much that your people have achieved, but also much that a fresh perspective can reveal. I am here to offer that perspective." A moment of silence hung in the room. The Queen considered his words, her mind racing through possibilities. Could he truly be as insightful as he claimed? Or was this a clever strategy to gain favor? Lithurians were taught caution, yet something about his demeanor suggested sincerity. Alara leaned forward slightly, her fingers resting lightly on the arms of her throne. "Very well," she said. "You will remain in the palace under observation, but understand this, Lithuria does not tolerate deceit. One false move and the consequences will be severe." Orion nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty, and I have no intention of deception. My goal is mutual understanding." The Queen gestured to the doors behind him. "Come then, walk with me. There is much I wish to learn before I decide whether your presence is a boon or a threat." As they moved through the corridors, Orion's eyes took in every detail. The intricate energy conduits running along the walls, the patterns of light shifting across the floors, the subtle symbols embedded in the decor. Lithuria was a marvel of civilization, advanced yet elegant, precise yet imaginative. He admired the harmony of the design, but also noted where human innovation might complement Lithurian methods. Alara spoke softly as they walked. "Tell me, human, why do you risk so much to come here? Why face potential danger when you could observe from afar?" Orion's expression became thoughtful. "Because some problems cannot be solved at a distance. Understanding requires presence, observation, and dialogue. And because I believe humans and Lithurians are stronger together than apart. But that can only happen if we trust one another." Trust. The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Alara considered it carefully. Trust was not given lightly, nor should it be. Yet there was something about this human that made her willing to explore the possibility. They arrived at a smaller chamber within the palace, designed for private conversations. The room was bathed in soft light, and a single table stood in the center with chairs on either side. Alara motioned for Orion to sit. "Very well," she said. "Here we speak openly. Your knowledge, your intentions, your ideas, I will hear them. But remember, honesty is mandatory. Deceit will not be tolerated." Orion sat, his posture relaxed but attentive. "I would expect nothing less, Your Majesty." For the first time in weeks, Alara allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps this meeting would be more than a challenge. It could be an opportunity. And in that moment, she realized that the arrival of this human might change not only her perspective, but the future of Lithuria itself. Outside, the twin suns continued their slow arc across the sky, casting a warm glow over the palace. Inside, the first steps of an unprecedented encounter had begun, an encounter that could alter the course of history in ways no one yet understood. And thus, the stage was set. The chamber was quiet, save for the faint hum of Lithuria's energy conduits hidden behind the walls. Sunlight filtered through the crystal windows, scattering prismatic colors across the floor. Queen Alara sat tall in her chair, her silver hair glinting in the soft light. Across from her, Orion remained calm, his dark eyes observing everything with quiet curiosity. The silence lasted only a moment before Alara spoke. "Tell me, Orion, what brings you to Lithuria, and why approach me directly rather than send a message through the council?" Orion leaned forward slightly, resting his hands on the table. Your Majesty, some knowledge cannot be sent in a message. Decisions must be made with understanding, not assumption. I came myself to offer insight into matters that could affect both humans and Lithurians. I wish to be present to explain and to answer questions directly. Ilara's violet eyes narrowed. Insight? And what sort of insight could a human possibly have that the Council or I do not already possess? Orion's expression remained calm, yet a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. A human mind approaches problems differently. Lithurians are precise, analytical, and structured, qualities I admire greatly. But sometimes, creativity and adaptability provide solutions that structure alone cannot. Ilara regarded him carefully. She had read reports of human ingenuity before, but seeing it in person made the claims feel more real. You speak confidently, yet confidence is not proof. Many beings boast of knowledge they do not possess. How can I trust that your words are true? Orion met her gaze steadily. You cannot trust words alone. That is why I am here. I do not seek blind trust. I offer evidence, demonstration, and dialogue. If you allow me, I can show you ideas that no Lithurian has yet considered. The Queen leaned back slightly, folding her hands on her lap. His poise, the calm certainty in his voice, was unusual. Most visitors trembled or hesitated in her presence. Orion did neither, and there was something else, an energy about him that suggested intelligence far beyond his species' typical bounds. Ilara decided to test him. Very well, Orion, I will hear your ideas, but we will start with a question. Suppose Lithuria faces a challenge, an urgent one that could affect our energy grids, our communication systems, or even our cities. You cannot rely on technology alone. How would you approach the problem? Orion considered her words carefully. First, I would observe the situation thoroughly. Understanding comes from seeing all the pieces, not just the results. Then, I would identify what resources are available and what constraints exist. Finally, I would explore multiple solutions, weighing risks and benefits. If necessary, I would combine conventional methods with creative, unexpected approaches. Ilara raised an eyebrow. Unexpected approaches. Humans often try what others would consider impossible or impractical, Orion explained. Sometimes, the simplest idea, one that breaks from tradition, resolves problems more efficiently than complex plans. The Queen let out a quiet hum of consideration. His words were logical yet carried a hint of unpredictability. Lithurians prided themselves on predictability and precision, but Orion's method promised flexibility. She wanted to test him further. Very well, she said. We will conduct a small exercise. I will present you with a scenario and you must propose a solution. No tricks, no deception, just your mind at work. Orion nodded. I accept. Ilara pressed a small control on the table and a holographic projection appeared between them. It depicted a section of Lithuria's energy network, a complex web of glowing lines connecting various energy nodes across the planet. One node was pulsing erratically, threatening to overload the network and disrupt the city. Imagine this node fails completely, Ilara said. Your task is to prevent the failure from spreading and causing a blackout. You may not harm anyone and you may not shut down the network entirely. How do you proceed? Orion studied the hologram. His brow furrowed slightly as he observed the network's flow. First, I would isolate the malfunctioning node to prevent the overload from spreading. Then, I would identify alternative routes to redirect energy. If necessary, I would create temporary storage zones to absorb excess energy while repairs are made. Finally, I would analyze the cause of the malfunction to prevent future failures. Ilara tilted her head. And how would you implement this? We cannot stop our systems instantly and time is critical. Orion smiled faintly. I would use existing control systems to reroute energy gradually, monitoring stability in real time. I would also deploy automated drones to assist with repairs. The key is observation, adjustment, and quick adaptation. Human intuition often sees solutions that algorithms alone may miss. The Queen leaned back, her fingers tapping lightly on the armrest. She had expected humans to propose bold ideas, perhaps even reckless ones. Instead, Orion's solution was methodical, creative, and safe. He respected rules while finding space for innovation, a balance Lithurians rarely achieved on their own. You surprise me, Orion, she admitted. You show respect for our systems yet offer creativity. Most Lithurians fear change or error. They prefer to rely on rules alone. And yet you, she gestured toward him, searching for words. You approach challenges with flexibility. Orion inclined his head. Adaptability is a human strength, Your Majesty. When faced with uncertainty, we learn to improvise. Rules guide us, but we are not confined by them. Ilara allowed a rare smile to form. Perhaps we can learn from each other after all. As they spoke, the conversation shifted to more personal matters. Orion asked questions about Lithurian history, culture, and values. Ilara answered carefully, noting his curiosity was genuine, not simply a tactic. He wanted to understand not only the systems and structures of Lithuria, but the people themselves, their reasoning, their traditions, and their ways of thinking. You value order and precision, Orion said thoughtfully. And yet, I see creativity in your architecture, your energy systems, even in your daily routines. How do you balance structure with innovation? Ilara considered. We train ourselves to maintain precision, to follow rules and protocols. Yet our history shows that great Lithurian thinkers succeeded when they pushed boundaries within those rules. Creativity must have constraints, otherwise it becomes chaos. Orion nodded. Then perhaps the key is not choosing between order and creativity, but combining them. That is how humans often solve complex problems. We use imagination guided by logic. The Queen studied him for a long moment. There was truth in his words. Humans approached life differently. They saw possibilities where Lithurians saw only constraints. And here was one human, willing to demonstrate that approach without arrogance, without threats, without deceit. Ilara decided to take the conversation further. Tell me about your experiences, Orion. How have humans like you solved challenges that others could not? Orion leaned back, his expression thoughtful. On Earth, humans face scarcity, danger, and conflict constantly. We have to cooperate, adapt, and innovate. Sometimes the tools are simple, sometimes complex, but the solution often comes from seeing connections others overlook. That is what brings progress. That is what I hope to bring here, the ability to connect ideas across worlds. Ilara's violet eyes softened slightly. She had expected a brash, bold human, full of bravado and self-interest. Instead, she found intelligence, patience, and humility. Yet there was no denying that his perspective was foreign, different, and potentially revolutionary. Very well, Orion, she said. I am beginning to understand, but knowledge alone is not enough. Humans may solve problems, but can they respect Lithurian culture, our ethics, our values? Orion met her gaze steadily. Respect is essential. I do not seek to replace your ways, Your Majesty. I seek to complement them, to add perspective, not challenge authority. I am here to build, not destroy. For the first time, Ilara felt a flicker of genuine trust. She could not yet call it full trust, but it was enough to continue this dialogue. Enough to see where it might lead. She rose from her chair, walking slowly toward the windows. You are unlike any human I have encountered, and I have studied many. Most are impatient, reckless, or self-centered. You are patient, observant, and careful. Yet you are not afraid to propose bold ideas. That is rare. Orion followed her gaze. I have learned that boldness without understanding leads to mistakes, but understanding without action leads to stagnation. Both must exist together. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps that is the lesson Lithuria needs as well. Too often we rely solely on precision and rules. Perhaps a human perspective, your perspective, can help us see beyond them. The chamber grew quiet again, but this time it was a silence of contemplation, not tension. Both of them felt it, the spark of something new, something that could change the way Lithuria saw itself, and the way humans and Lithurians might work together. Outside, the suns continued their slow path across the sky. Inside, a meeting that had begun with caution and curiosity blossomed into dialogue, understanding, and the first step toward collaboration. And for both the Queen and the human who had walked into her throne room willingly, the realization came slowly but unmistakably. This encounter was not a threat, but the start of something extraordinary. The next morning, the palace corridors were alive with quiet activity. Guards moved with silent precision, attendants carried trays of food and data tablets, and the subtle hum of Lithuria's energy conduits filled the air like a gentle pulse. Queen Ilara walked with measured steps, her mind already considering the day's plans. Today, she would truly test Orion, not with words or discussion, but with practical challenges designed to reveal the depth of his abilities. Orion waited in the central chamber, a neutral room designed for observation and strategy exercises. It was large but simple, with walls that could project holographic simulations and a floor that could shift to replicate different terrains or environments. When the Queen entered, he rose politely and bowed his head slightly. "Good morning, Your Majesty," he said. "I hope you slept well." Elara offered a small nod, her expression unreadable. "Sleep is a luxury, Orion, when there is much to consider. Today you will face challenges that will test not only your knowledge but your judgment, creativity, and empathy. I want to see how a human mind navigates situations that Lithurians would approach very differently." Orion's expression remained calm. "I am ready, Your Majesty." The Queen gestured toward the center of the room. "Very well, we begin with a simulation. It will test your problem-solving abilities under pressure. Observe carefully before acting, and remember, the solution must preserve life and minimize disruption." A holographic display flickered to life, showing a miniature city at the edge of Lithuria's capital. The city was a network of towers, streets, and energy conduits, populated by small digital representations of Lithurians going about their daily routines. Suddenly, the simulation indicated a malfunction in one of the energy conduits. Sparks flared, lights flickered, and the hum of the system faltered. "This is the challenge," Elara explained. "A critical energy conduit is failing. If it collapses completely, it could affect thousands of people. You must stabilize it without shutting down the network or causing harm. How will you proceed?" Orion crouched slightly, his eyes scanning the holographic city with precision. He pointed to a section of the conduit network. "First, I would isolate the failing section by rerouting power through adjacent conduits. This will prevent the failure from spreading. Then, I would deploy automated drones to reinforce the structural integrity of the conduit while monitoring the energy flow." Elara raised an eyebrow. "And the people in the area? They would be evacuated in a controlled manner, guided by sensors and automated systems," Orion explained. "I would also communicate with local authorities to ensure safety protocols are followed. The goal is to protect both infrastructure and life simultaneously." The Queen remained silent for a moment, observing his careful logic. Humans were often praised for ingenuity, but Orion's approach combined creativity with responsibility, a rare balance even among her own advisors. "Very well," she said. "You may proceed with your plan." Orion tapped a few commands into a portable interface, and the holographic simulation responded immediately. Power rerouted through adjacent conduits, drones deployed to reinforce the failing section, and digital representations of citizens moved safely away from danger. The conduit stabilized, and the simulation ended without any casualties or damage. Elara studied him carefully. "You approach problems differently than a Lithurian would. Most of my council would have relied solely on automated systems, without considering human adaptability or intuition. You incorporated both. Impressive." Orion nodded. "It is often the combination of methods that produces the best outcome. Rules provide structure, but flexibility ensures survival." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Words are one thing, results are another. We will continue with a different test, one that examines creativity and strategic thinking." The walls of the chamber shifted, projecting a new environment. The room transformed into a dense, simulated forest on an alien planet, complete with uneven terrain, streams, and energy anomalies scattered throughout. Small holographic devices, representing Lithurian research stations, were placed throughout the forest, and the task was clear. Retrieve valuable data cores from the stations while avoiding triggering the anomalies, which could cause permanent damage to the equipment. "You must collect all data cores," Elara explained, "without causing harm to the devices or the simulated environment. You may not bypass the anomalies with brute force. The challenge is to observe, plan, and execute." Orion studied the scene, taking in the layout and patterns of the anomalies. He did not rush forward, nor did he rely solely on the visual data. Instead, he began a careful analysis, mapping the safe paths and potential risks. After a few moments, he spoke. "I see a route that allows access to each data core by moving in a calculated sequence. By adjusting the timing of movement and using small, portable shields to block the anomalies, energy, I can collect all cores without interference." Elara's brow lifted. "And what if the shields fail or an anomaly shifts unexpectedly?" "Then I adapt," Orion replied simply. Flexibility is key. I observe changes, respond immediately, and adjust my path as necessary. Predictability is limited, but observation and quick thinking maintain control. He moved carefully through the simulated forest, executing his plan with precision. Each data core was retrieved, anomalies avoided, and the environment remained intact. The Queen watched silently, noting how he combined logic, observation, and intuition seamlessly. You do not panic under pressure, Alara remarked once the simulation ended. A Lithurian would likely hesitate, relying solely on calculated algorithms. You trust your judgment. Orion smiled faintly. Experience teaches confidence, Your Majesty. Observing, learning, and acting responsibly allows decisions to be made even in uncertainty. Alara considered this. Humans were capable of remarkable adaptability, yet it was paired with responsibility in Orion's case, a combination that could prove invaluable. The final test of the day focused not on strategy or problem-solving, but on empathy and understanding. The chamber shifted once again, creating a simulated village affected by a natural disaster. Holographic citizens were displaced, some injured, and resources were limited. The task was to coordinate relief and ensure the well-being of every citizen. Many leaders would focus on efficiency, Alara said. They might prioritize the most important areas and overlook individual needs. I want to see how a human mind approaches the balance between efficiency and compassion. Orion observed the scene carefully. He moved quickly to assess the needs of each holographic citizen, directing supplies where they were most needed. He adapted the distribution plans based on changing conditions, ensuring no one was left behind. He coordinated efforts using both technology and careful communication, demonstrating patience, understanding, and foresight. Alara watched closely. You show care not only for results but for individuals, she said quietly. Most Lithurians focus on systems, not people. You approach challenges with a balance we rarely achieve. Orion nodded. Humans understand that the smallest details, individual lives, affect the success of the whole. Ignoring them leads to failure. We learn to value both the system and the individual. The Queen allowed herself a rare moment of admiration. This human, so different from her people, was proving that his species possessed qualities that complemented Lithurian precision. Adaptability, intuition, empathy, and creativity were traits that, when combined with Lithurian knowledge and technology, could achieve remarkable outcomes. As the day drew to a close, Orion and Alara walked through the palace corridors in silence. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the polished floors. You performed well today, Alara finally said. Perhaps better than I expected. Humans are often underestimated, and yet you demonstrate not only intelligence but patience, creativity, and understanding. Orion's expression was calm, but there was a glint of pride in his eyes. I appreciate your acknowledgement, Your Majesty. My goal is to be helpful, to offer perspective that may complement your people's strengths. Alara studied him carefully. Do you realize what you have done today? You have shown that humans are not merely outsiders or curiosities. You have proven that your approach, different, adaptable, empathetic, can solve problems that even we struggle with. Orion bowed slightly. I hope that is only the beginning, Your Majesty. There is much we can achieve together if allowed the chance. The Queen nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. Yes, perhaps there is more to learn from humans than I realized. And perhaps there is more for Lithuria to gain by embracing perspectives beyond our own. But trust is not given lightly. Tomorrow, we will begin a new series of tests, ones that will challenge not only your mind, but your ability to integrate with Lithurian systems and people. Orion inclined his head, accepting the challenge. I welcome it. Understanding comes through engagement, not observation alone. As they parted for the evening, the palace seemed to hum with possibility. The day's tests had revealed much. Orion was more than a visitor. He was a bridge between worlds, a source of new ideas, and a living example of the potential that humans brought to the galaxy. Queen Alara returned to her chambers, her mind racing with possibilities. She had begun the day skeptical, cautious, and wary of deception. By its end, she had seen a glimpse of what humanity could offer, insight, adaptability, and empathy that complemented Lithuria's precision. And for Orion, the day had been a proof of principle. His skills, his judgment, and his understanding had been recognized, not just as a human, but as a valuable ally capable of meaningful contribution to a civilization far beyond his own. Outside the palace, the twin suns set behind Lithuria's towers, painting the sky in hues of gold and violet. Inside, the first steps of a partnership that could change the future had been taken. Both human and Lithurian felt it. The spark of collaboration, the thrill of discovery, and the promise of a journey neither species could undertake alone. And so the stage was set for tomorrow, another day of tests, challenges, and revelations that would bring them closer to understanding not only each other, but the limitless potential of human ingenuity. The sun rose over Lithuria, casting long rays of light across the palace. Towers. Queen Alara stood on the balcony, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Today was not just another day of tests. It was the day a true challenge had arrived, one that required both Lithurian precision and human ingenuity. A communication alert blinked on her console. She pressed it, and a holographic display appeared, showing a Lithurian research station on the outer edge of the planet. Sensors reported an unusual energy surge, spreading unpredictably across the station's grid. If it continued, it could destabilize the entire planetary energy network. Alara's brow furrowed. This was not a simulation. This was real, and time was critical. "Orion," she called, and within moments he appeared in the chamber. His calm presence contrasted sharply with the urgency of the situation. "We have a problem," she said, showing him the holographic data. "This station is experiencing energy fluctuations that threaten the planet's power network. Our standard protocols may not be enough to stabilize it." Orion studied the display carefully, analyzing the readings and patterns. "I see," he said thoughtfully. "The system is trying to compensate for a series of cascading errors. If left unchecked, it could overload neighboring nodes and cause widespread disruptions. But there may be a way to stabilize it using a combination of Lithurian technology and human adaptive methods." Alara nodded. "Then we have no time to waste. I want your plan, and I want it executed. You will coordinate with the station's engineers, but all final decisions remain with me." Orion smiled faintly. "Understood, Your Majesty. Let's begin." They arrived at the research station via a rapid hovercraft, the journey offering a panoramic view of Lithuria's sprawling landscapes. The station itself was a marvel of Lithurian engineering, sleek and precise, with towers reaching toward the sky and a network of energy conduits crisscrossing the complex. Inside, engineers worked frantically, monitoring data streams and attempting to stabilize the energy flow. Alara stepped forward, addressing the team. "This is Orion. He comes with a fresh perspective. Listen to his suggestions and act swiftly. The goal is to prevent a planetary disruption without risking lives or infrastructure." Orion nodded at the engineers and began moving through the control center, assessing the situation in real time. He spoke calmly, directing the team to isolate the most critical nodes, reroute energy through temporary conduits, and employ small energy buffers to absorb the excess load. "Your systems are impressive," he said, gesturing to the complex network. "But the instability comes from feedback loops the standard algorithms do not account for. We need to predict the ripple effects in real time and adjust dynamically." One engineer hesitated. "Dynamic adjustments could overload the automated controls." "Not if we combine human intuition with automated precision," Orion replied. "Observe the fluctuations, respond immediately, and adjust the flow gradually. Don't rely solely on machines. Your judgment is crucial." Alara watched from the side, impressed. She had expected Orion to offer ideas, but the way he coordinated the team, balanced technology with human oversight, and maintained calm under pressure was extraordinary. Hours passed as the team followed Orion's guidance. He moved seamlessly between consoles, observing energy patterns, recalculating, and issuing precise instructions. The engineers adapted quickly, inspired by his confidence and clarity. Slowly, the cascading surges began to stabilize. Lights that had flickered erratically steadied, and energy readings returned to safe levels. Finally, the crisis was contained. A collective sigh of relief filled the control room. Alara stepped forward, her expression unreadable but her eyes shining with respect. "You have done well, Orion," she said. "Not only did you provide a plan, but you coordinated with our engineers in a way that ensured safety and efficiency. Your human perspective, your adaptability, has proven invaluable." Orion inclined his head. It was a team effort, Your Majesty. The engineers' expertise and your guidance made the difference. Humans bring creativity and flexibility, but Lithurians bring precision and stability. Together, we can achieve solutions neither could accomplish alone. Alara nodded slowly. She realized the truth of his words. For too long, Lithuria had relied solely on rules, protocols, and calculations. Now, she saw how combining human intuition with Lithurian precision could elevate their civilization to a new level. Then perhaps it is time, she said thoughtfully, to consider a more permanent collaboration. Your presence here has shown that humans are not just visitors or observers. You can be allies, partners in both innovation and governance. Orion's expression brightened, but he remained composed. I would be honored, Your Majesty. The opportunity to learn from Lithurians and contribute human insight is invaluable. Alara turned her attention to the engineers. Prepare a report for the Council detailing today's events. Include the methods Orion proposed and the results achieved. This will serve as a demonstration of the potential benefits of interstellar collaboration. As the engineers worked, Orion and Alara moved to a quieter observation deck overlooking the planet. The golden light of the setting suns reflected off the city below, painting the towers in hues of amber and violet. You understand, don't you? Alara asked. This is more than a simple problem-solving exercise. Today's success could change the way Lithuria views outsiders, humans in particular. Orion nodded. I understand, and I hope it proves that collaboration is stronger than isolation. Together, we can tackle challenges that neither of our species could face alone. Alara allowed herself a rare smile. I have seen many visitors in my time, but few have approached with the clarity, patience, and insight that you possess. It is not just your intelligence that impresses me. It is your judgment, your empathy, and your ability to adapt. These qualities are often overlooked, yet they are what make humans remarkable. Orion's gaze softened. Your Majesty, I only wish to contribute in ways that are meaningful, to build, not to disrupt, to complement, not to replace. The Queen considered him carefully. For the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of partnership forming, not just with a human, but with an idea larger than herself. The potential of their combined abilities was vast, and the thought of what they could achieve together sparked a rare excitement in her mind. Then we will continue, she said firmly. Tomorrow, we begin planning for future challenges, planetary, interstellar, and beyond. You will work alongside Lithurian engineers, scientists, and strategists. Your ideas will be considered, tested, and implemented where appropriate. Orion inclined his head. I am ready, Your Majesty, and I hope that through this collaboration, humans and Lithurians will learn from each other in ways that benefit both our worlds. As the suns dipped below the horizon, the palace grew quiet. Yet inside, a new energy hummed, a mixture of anticipation, determination, and the unspoken understanding that something extraordinary had begun. Humans and Lithurians, working together, could achieve what neither could accomplish alone. The following days were filled with planning sessions, simulations, and joint problem-solving exercises. Orion quickly adapted to Lithurian methods, learning their systems and protocols while introducing human approaches that emphasized flexibility and creativity. The Queen observed closely, noting how the engineers and strategists began to embrace these ideas, inspired by Orion's calm confidence and practical solutions. One afternoon, while reviewing a planetary simulation, Alara spoke thoughtfully. Orion, do you realize what this means? Lithuria has long been a civilization of rules, calculations, and precision. Today, your perspective is showing us that creativity, intuition, and adaptability can elevate our civilization even further. Orion smiled. And your openness to collaboration, Your Majesty, allows this to happen. A human mind can propose ideas, but without a receptive mind to consider them, progress is limited. Together, we can reach far beyond what either could achieve alone. Alara nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. She saw the potential for new energy systems, advanced infrastructure, and even interstellar diplomacy that incorporated human adaptability and Lithurian precision. The alliance they were forming was not just practical, it was transformative. That evening, as the twin moons rose over Lithuria, casting silver light over the palace, Alara and Orion stood once more on the balcony. The city below shimmered with activity, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place in the minds of its leaders. "You have proven yourself beyond expectation," Alara said quietly. "And yet, I sense that this is only the beginning. There is more to accomplish, more to learn, and more to achieve. Are you prepared for what lies ahead?" Orion's gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. "I am ready, Your Majesty, and I believe that together we can face any challenge, no matter how complex or unprecedented." For the first time, Alara felt a sense of certainty that few Lithurians had ever experienced. Here was a human who could think differently, act decisively, and inspire cooperation. Together, they could not only solve problems but create solutions that reshaped the future of their worlds. And so, the alliance was forged, not in ceremony or decree, but in action, trust, and shared purpose. Humans and Lithurians, each bringing their strengths, would work together to face challenges that neither species could confront alone. The stage was set for the next step, a mission that would test their partnership, their ingenuity, and their courage in ways neither had yet imagined. The twin moons reflected on the city below, illuminating a palace alive with possibility. The human and the young queen stood together, ready to shape a future defined not by fear, but by collaboration, understanding, and the limitless potential of their combined abilities. The palace of Lithuria was quieter than usual, yet a sense of anticipation filled the air. Queen Alara stood on the balcony, gazing over the city as the first rays of sunlight shimmered across the towers. The events of the past days had set in motion something extraordinary, an alliance between humans and Lithurians that neither could have imagined before. Orion arrived shortly after, his calm presence a comforting contrast to the city's rising energy. The crisis at the outer research station had been averted thanks to their combined efforts, and today marked the beginning of a new initiative, a mission to strengthen interstellar cooperation and prevent future challenges before they arose. "Good morning, Your Majesty," Orion said, bowing slightly in respect. Alara smiled faintly. "Good morning, Orion. Are you ready? Today is important. We are not simply testing ideas or solving problems. We are shaping the future of Lithuria and perhaps the galaxy itself." Orion nodded. "I am ready. Humans have always believed that challenges are opportunities to learn and grow. I see that the same can be said of Lithurians." Alara led him into the central strategy chamber. Holographic projections displayed the city, its energy networks, transportation hubs, and surrounding environments in intricate detail. Teams of engineers, scientists, and strategists had already begun gathering to discuss the next steps, inspired by the success of Orion's collaboration with the Lithurian engineers. The Queen addressed the team. "We have seen what is possible when humans and Lithurians work together. Today, we begin planning a comprehensive system to monitor potential crises across the planet and beyond. Orion will serve as a liaison, bringing human perspective to our strategies. His insights will be considered alongside our traditional methods." Orion glanced at the assembled team. He could see the curiosity and skepticism on some faces, but he also saw excitement and eagerness. "I hope to contribute ideas that complement your expertise," he said. "Lithurians are brilliant at precision and control. Humans are adaptable and creative. By combining these strengths, we can prepare for challenges in ways neither of our species could achieve alone." Alara nodded. "Then let us begin." The first task was to analyze potential energy anomalies across Lithuria. The team worked together, comparing simulations and real-world data. Orion suggested adjustments to existing algorithms, introducing flexible contingency plans that could respond dynamically to unexpected changes. The Lithurians were initially cautious, but as simulations confirmed the effectiveness of these strategies, their skepticism transformed into admiration. "Your approach is different," one senior engineer admitted, "but it works. The system adapts faster than we could have predicted." Orion smiled. "That is the value of combining adaptability with precision. Observing patterns, anticipating change, and responding quickly ensures stability without sacrificing safety or efficiency." The next task involved interstellar diplomacy. Lithuria had alliances with nearby systems, but communication delays and differing protocols often caused misunderstandings. Orion proposed a human-inspired method of negotiation. a flexible framework that allowed for immediate adaptation to unexpected proposals, cultural differences, and strategic shifts. Ilara observed quietly as Orion explained his plan. By understanding the perspective of our partners, we can anticipate challenges and respond proactively, he said. Flexibility does not mean chaos, it means preparing for the unexpected without abandoning principles. The Queen nodded thoughtfully. This approach could revolutionize diplomacy. Humans often see solutions where others see problems. Perhaps this is the insight Lithuria has needed. As the day progressed, the team implemented a series of simulations, combining energy management, environmental stability, and interstellar communication protocols. Orion guided the human aspects, ensuring adaptability and creativity were considered alongside Lithurian precision and control. The results were extraordinary. Simulations indicated higher efficiency, faster response times, and greater overall stability than ever achieved before. Ilara allowed herself a quiet smile. The young human who had walked into her throne room willingly had not only proven himself, but had shown the potential of a new era. Humans and Lithurians could work together, each bringing their unique strengths to create a stronger, more resilient civilization. In the evening, Orion and Ilara walked through the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected on the pools of water, creating shimmering patterns that danced across the marble paths. Today was remarkable, Ilara said, not just because of the results, but because of what it represents. Humanity has a way of seeing possibilities where we see boundaries. That is something Lithuria has never fully embraced. Orion nodded. And Lithuria shows humans the value of structure, precision, and foresight. Together, we can achieve balance, creativity guided by discipline. They paused at a terrace overlooking the city. The people below moved through the streets and skyways, unaware that a new chapter in their history had begun. Ilara, Orion said quietly, I did not come here to take control, to challenge your authority, or to change your ways. I came to offer perspective, to demonstrate that collaboration can achieve what isolation cannot. And I believe today we have taken the first steps toward that future. Ilara regarded him thoughtfully. You have exceeded my expectations, Orion. I expected ingenuity, perhaps even cleverness. What I did not expect was understanding, empathy, and patience. These qualities, often overlooked, are what make humans truly remarkable. You have reminded Lithuria that wisdom is not only found in rules and calculations, but in perspective and insight. Orion smiled faintly. Thank you, Your Majesty. It is my honor to contribute. And I believe that this partnership, human and Lithurian together, can achieve extraordinary things. The Queen nodded. Then it is settled. You will remain here as an ambassador, a bridge between our worlds. Your role is not just to advise, but to inspire, to guide, and to show the value of combining our strengths. Lithuria will benefit greatly from this alliance. Orion bowed respectfully. I accept this responsibility, and I will do everything in my power to ensure it succeeds. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Together, Ilara and Orion implemented new systems that combined Lithurian efficiency with human adaptability. Energy networks became more resilient, environmental management improved, and diplomatic protocols were enhanced to allow faster, more flexible responses to potential crises. The palace became a hub of collaboration, where ideas flowed freely and innovation flourished. The Queen observed the changes with growing satisfaction. Lithuria had always been strong, but now it was becoming more versatile, more prepared for the unknown. And humans, through Orion's guidance, were no longer outsiders. They were valued partners, capable of offering insights and solutions that complemented Lithurian methods. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Ilara and Orion stood once more on the balcony. The city below sparkled with lights, energy flowing smoothly through the networks, citizens moving through their lives with a sense of security and harmony. You have changed more than systems today, Ilara said softly. You have changed perspectives. Humans are no longer seen as unpredictable outsiders. They are collaborators, innovators, and partners in the future of Lithuria. Orion looked at her, calm but resolute. And Lithuria has shown humans the power of structure, discipline, and foresight. Together, our species can achieve far more than we ever could alone. The Queen nodded, a sense of pride filling her heart. She had faced challenges, ruled wisely, and guided her people through many trials. But the arrival of Orion and the partnership that had formed was unlike anything she had encountered. It was not just a solution to a problem. It was a vision of a future where humanity and Lithuria could shape the galaxy together. As the nights passed, the palace became a symbol of hope, cooperation, and shared purpose. Humans and Lithurians worked side by side, learning from one another, growing stronger together. Each new project, each new challenge, was met with collaboration, creativity, and careful planning. For Alara, the young queen who had once commanded the capture of a human who walked into her throne room willingly, the experience was transformative. She had learned that true leadership required openness to new ideas, trust in others' strengths, and the courage to embrace collaboration. For Orion, the human who had risked everything to walk into the heart of a foreign civilization, the journey was equally transformative. He had shown that human ingenuity, empathy, and adaptability could complement even the most advanced technology and disciplined society. He had proven that humans were not merely observers, but creators, collaborators, and problem solvers on a galactic scale. Together, they had forged an alliance that was more than political or strategic. It was a partnership rooted in respect, understanding, and the shared goal of building a better future. One that valued the strengths of every species and recognized the potential that arose when differences were embraced rather than feared. As the twin moons cast silver light across the palace, Queen Alara and Orion stood side by side, looking out over a city that had been strengthened, a civilization that had grown wiser, and a future that had never seemed brighter. And in that moment, both human and Lithurian understood the truth of their shared journey. When humanity's ingenuity meets Lithuria's precision, the possibilities are limitless. Together, they were not just solving problems, they were shaping the destiny of their worlds. The city below hummed with life, the palace shimmered in the moonlight, and the promise of tomorrow stretched endlessly across the horizon. For the first time, Lithuria truly understood the value of collaboration. And humanity had found a place among the stars where it was not only welcomed, but respected, appreciated, and celebrated. In the quiet of the palace balcony, two figures, queen and human, stood together, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. Their partnership was more than an alliance. It was a testament to the power of perspective, ingenuity, and trust. And thus, a new era began, a future shaped by collaboration, guided by wisdom, and inspired by the limitless potential of human creativity.